everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of the E-commerce Marketing Show. I'm excited because my guest today is Vivian Kaye, and she's like the perfect person that we could be talking to for the show. If you just go to her Twitter and check her out. In her Twitter bio, she says, 2-time successful bootstrapping entrepreneur with 6 million in revenue. That's exactly the people that we want to talk to on the show. So, hey, Vivian, nice to see you. Nice to have you on. And I'm excited to learn from you for a little bit.
Yeah. Nice to see you in real life and not on the Twitters.
Always on the Twitters. That's right. So I want to just ask you a lot of dumb questions, honestly, about.
There is no such thing as a dumb question. None. There's no.
That's what people have been told me my whole life, and we're still getting through. But I actually want to start with I don't want to immediately start with your background, because I want to pull up this tweet that I just saw from you that I actually just retweeted before this, because I think it's probably the most important piece of advice I think we could hit on right away. I just want to pull this up. So you said, start small, start where you are, start and make mistakes, start with what you have, start with what you know, start despite whatever it is, start by taking that next step, start by taking the next step after that, just start now, start it. I couldn't agree more with that, but can you explain to me in your words, the why behind that?
Well, a lot of people think that they need all sorts of things to get started. You need to have money to buy the inventory. You need to have the experience in order to figure this out. You need to have this backed and that perfect and a perfect brand and a perfect logo and all that jazz. I think, one of the greatest examples of what the opposite of success looks like, of what success looks like. I'm the exact opposite of that. And I started where I was. I started with what I have. I started with what I knew. I started where I was. And I still made it. I am not VC backed. I am a college dropout. I am a single mother. I am a Black woman. I live in Canada. All those things. I'm not sure what Canada has to do with it, but all those things really should have hindered my success.
Well,
but
Canada's better right now.
Yeah, now we were sort of like, oh, we don't know about you, America. You guys can just stay down there. But, I'll still take your money. I'll still take your US dollars. But, but yeah, I started. And I think that's really a huge block for a lot of people, especially as entrepreneurs, because they think that, and especially when they're looking at people's Twitter feeds or their Instagram feeds, looking at this lifestyle that people have curated for their, I guess, consumption. But what you don't understand is these people started somewhere, and it doesn't. You don't have to start. It's not like being an entrepreneur is running a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? And then even when you're training for a marathon, what do? The first thing you do is you wake up. Second thing you do is you get out of bed. The third thing you do is you put on your clothes. The fourth thing you do is you put on your shoes, and so on and so on. So yeah.
I love that, because I think through my job and just I talked to a lot of marketers, and everybody, the thing you hear about, oh yeah, I'm gonna launch that thing when I blank, right? When I get that money, when I have the launch plan. Oh, I'm not ready to share my idea. And I think a lot of people you have to do that to feel it firsthand, because a lot of times, you might put something out into the world that seems really obvious and it takes off like wildfire. And the reason why is because 99% of the other people didn't actually hit publish on that thing. And if you can build on that every day, that's how you ultimately build an audience, build a brand, and all the way down.
Exactly.
So what's your personal story? Now you're this now this successful entrepreneur in e-commerce. And I think for the sake of this interview, you have an amazing backstory that we should tell at some point. But I think just to focus this part on marketing, because I think a lot of people don't believe that they're marketers, even though they have to be. And so I'm just curious to tell me about the first business that you started and how you started to actually grow that thing.
Well, I started just by starting, right? So I saw a problem that needed to be solved. So my first business was I was a wedding decorator. And I'm one of 4 girls, and I'm the second oldest. and my older sister was getting married. She needed to hire a decorator to decorate her wedding. She hired one. The decorator said, okay, I'll do everything for $1,000. 2 weeks before the wedding, she said, I'm going to need another $1,000. But she wasn't very specific about what she was going to do with this $2,000. And of course, 2 weeks before your wedding, money's tight. You don't have an extra $1,000 lying around. We ended up hiring another decorator. And, that decorator did a craptastic job in decor. And so then I looked at that whole experience and I thought that it didn't need to be that way. Like, why can't someone just offer simple yet fabulous decor at reasonable prices and spell out exactly what it is that you're going to get? Now, for me, it wasn't rocket science. This came to me naturally. It was just like I saw a problem and I saw a gap in the market, and I decided to solve it. At the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just naturally, this made sense to me, right? And it was through doing that business that I had another problem to solve, which was, why I needed to look quote unquote presentable. So for Black women, what that means is basically I guess society would, has these beauty standards that women typically have to live up to, and more so Black women. And I needed something that looked presentable, which is basically my hair needed to look straight because I served, all the demographics, living in the Greater Toronto area. That's what you do. And so I needed something that looked like my hair, but when I went looking for it, I couldn't find my hair. Like I couldn't find hair extensions that looked like my hair. A lot of Black women, we protect our hair because our hair is not suited to this new North American environment. Oprah is wearing a wig. Beyonce is wearing a wig. Any Black woman you see that's a celebrity is wearing a wig. So I wanted something that looks like my hair, but I couldn't find it. Or if I did find it, it was buried underneath silkier textures. So then I thought to myself, there is no business just selling kinky hair, but I filed it in the back of my head and went about my business because I was running a successful business, right? And then I went to a meetup and there was another Black woman there, and she came up to me and she asked me who my hairdresser was and what my regimen was for styling my hair. And I was like, girl, this is a weave. And for Black women, just the fact that another Black woman couldn't tell that you were wearing hair extensions, that's one of the highest compliments that can be paid. And so then she said, wow, I would buy that. And that's when the light bulb went off. So I thought, well, if she would buy it and I would buy it, there's got to be at least a dozen other women who would buy it too.
and you are the customer. Like you feel that, and you're like, oh my, that must have been an amazing moment. Like this idea just instantly validated, right? Like the in-person, you probably were like, can I get you to say that again, but on camera?
No, you know what? Because at the time it was just, you didn't need that proof. You didn't need that social proof, right? I just thought, well, if I fooled another Black woman, I could probably fool a whole bunch more, right?
So I don't know if this was on purpose or a coincidence, but the last episode that we did was with Orion Brown from Black Travel Box, and she started a business where she created like skincare and beauty products to travel because she couldn't, whenever she traveled places, she couldn't find the stuff that she was used to using. And I think though a story like that is so good because the marketing for that, not that it's easy, but it becomes easy because you're not faking it. You're not like Vivian trying to figure out how to do marketing for a cybersecurity company. You live this, you breathe this, and you can just come and talk about, tell your story. And I think that's clear if you go to the website, which is kinkycurlyyaki.com, and we'll put it in the notes and everything. But if you go to that website, like it's clear that there is more than a product. There's a personality behind this whole thing.
Dave, I get high on my own supply. And it's super important that if you're starting a business, you need to get high on your supply. It makes it more believable. It makes it authentic. It will resonate with people, right? It's actually one of my keys to success is that I am my own customer.
So how does that play out? How does that play out in your marketing? Like if you could just get a little bit tactical with that, like, is that in your emails, in your content? Like, have you built a strategy around that? I'm asking to try to lead you in one way because a lot of people that we talk to that have, that are entrepreneurs, they're like, I don't have time to create content, and they just create product pages and that's your website. But I feel like you have those two things really integrated.
Well, one of the things that is something that's happening in our industries, especially for Black women, is that we don't have a lot of control over our beauty. Like we don't own the hair stores, we don't own the hair products, we don't own, that whole chain, supply chain, right? So one of the things that I realized would make me stand out in this particular niche was that I looked like my customers, right? And that automatically is something that, if you're a Black woman who is, looking to protect their hair, I know what I'm talking about because I've lived your experience, right? And then immediately, like when you said about the Black travel box, I immediately knew what she was talking about. Like I just came back on a train trip and, I was in a spa and all the shampoo was not made for my hair. But I didn't have any travel size products to bring with me so that I could wash my hair after using the spa, right? But anyways, to answer your question, which I've totally forgotten.
Well, it's okay because you mentioned something which is really important. So I think one of the most important books about marketing is called Influence: The Psychology of Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, and it was written in 1986. And in that book, he has basically 6 principles that say like guide people's subconscious thinking for better or worse. And one of the most important ones is the liking principle. And what that says is like we are more likely to want to talk to, work with, do business with brands and people that look and feel like us, and that could be color of your skin, right? But it could also be like, hey, I like, if you're going to go to the gym and take fitness tips, like you want to do that from someone that has that looks like a wild animal who just works out all day. Like that's who you want to take your advice from. And so I think that's a really interesting thing. And I think especially today in e-commerce, a lot of people, the story is not like, oh, I just dropped out of school and I wanted to make money, and so I started a men's underwear company, right? Like I think a lot of the reason that most people start brands is because there's a real reason. They have a story like yours.
Right.
So like, how did you get customers? Because I have some prep notes from Lauren on our team, but she says there's some, I'm not sure if I believe this, so I want to ask you about it, which is that
Sure.
you grew without ads. But Vivian, I thought that the playbook in e-commerce is set up a store on Shopify, buy customers from the Facebook store, and that's how you do it.
Nope, I built it. I got it to $1 million without a single paid ad. And how I did that was because, again, I was trying to solve my own problem before I was decided to run it as a business. I created a community without realizing that's what I was doing. So in order to solve my own problem, I joined Facebook groups. I joined hair forums, Black hair care groups. And I was just being Vivian. And like you mentioned, people don't necessarily buy your product. They're buying you. And so then in these groups, I was just being Vivian. And at the time, being a personal brand was not a thing. Like being the face of your brand was not a thing. This was back in 2012. And so then I was just Vivian. And then I launched the company without telling anyone it was my company. And people bought into it. It was great. Everyone, it took off initially. But when they found out, and it's a funny story because I didn't necessarily say it was my business. Someone tried to out me. So I didn't put the who is privacy on my website.
I never spend that $69.99.
Right. And so then I didn't buy the who is. And so someone got smart and created a fake Facebook profile, joined the groups, and then outed me to the groups. But what they meant for my downfall was it was my rocket fuel. So everyone found out that it was me behind the business, and they were like, well, all the more reason to support it. Right. And so people don't realize that you have to create a community. You have to find out whether or not there was a problem. And the reason why I knew there was a problem is because it was my problem and other people had that problem. So I knew there was a business idea there, but I was afraid to start. But eventually I was just like, what happened was I turned 35. And at 35, I was like, you know what? I just need something that's just going to just just rocket fuel me, and then I was at the end of November, and then by the end of December of 2012, I launched Kinky Curly Yaki.
Okay, so what was the like technology landscape like in 2012
Sounds so long ago.
it does, right? For a budding entrepreneur in e-commerce, right? Because today I could hang up after this call, set up Shopify, set up Privy, Klaviyo, whatever, a bunch of different tools, and be running. But my guess is that wasn't the case. And so if you weren't focusing on ads, like what did you actually do from a website perspective? Drive traffic there, convert people, email. What did you do?
Well, I didn't actually do email until 2017, so I'd hit million before email too.
So you didn't have an email list. So you
Nope.
so you got to 1 million in sales with
Yep.
no ads and no
Yep.
email list.
No ads and no email. That's the power of building an audience, right? And building a community.
So if you weren't doing ads and you didn't have an email list, where was most of your audience?
It was on social media. So it was on Facebook, actually. It started all on Facebook. And it was just started with me being in the groups that made sense for me, which was anything related to Black hair care. And again, didn't enter these groups to start a business. I entered them to solve my own problem. But yeah, no, what it looked like was I was on Big Cartel. Took my pictures with my little Samsung S3, took pictures, and I was a natural marketer. So I would just, I would always be up on the new technology. So back then, Instagram wasn't really on and popping, but I joined it anyways because I thought this is another way where I could show pictures of my products, because I knew my products were visual. They needed, like, my customers needed to see it on people. And so then I did that. I did a lot of behind the scenes on Instagram before it was really a thing, before it was content marketing, right? So I did that. I was always grateful to my customers. I used to handwrite thank you notes on every single packing slip that went out. I really made it personal. Was that hard to scale? Absolutely. But I still managed to do, like what that looks like nowadays is now I have an automated email sequence that when someone makes a purchase 24 hours after they've made it, I have a plain text email that goes out that looks like I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning to thank them. And it's one of my highest engaging emails because people, like, I get a lot of replies to it that are like, Vivian, like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to ace that interview that I had. Because really, at the end of the day, Kinky Curly Yaki isn't about hair extensions for me. It's about giving Black women the confidence to show up as themselves as they are.
I love it. I'm on your Instagram, and it's pretty wild how much bigger of an audience. I mean, it makes sense that you've built on Instagram and Facebook than like, Twitter or the other channels. I think it's a good example of like finding the right platform. Can you actually tell me if you know off the top, even if you don't know the exact copy, but I want to know what does the email actually say? So like I buy something, 24 hours later, I get an email. What's the subject line and what does it say?
I think it says something like, thank you, girl. Like, just thank you. And I'm actually trying to pull it up right now, but it's basically just saying thank you for supporting my small Black business. And that's really important, especially in our industry, because a lot of hair care related businesses or beauty related businesses are not owned by Black women. And so that email just basically says, I really appreciate your support. Not only are you supporting me, but you're supporting my family. And I encourage them to follow me on my personal Instagram so then they can go and see who they're actually supporting. And they see I'm a real person. I have a son. I'm a single mom. I do mom things. I do Black woman things. Like, I'm just magic. And I appreciate you supporting that magic.
That's
And
awesome. I
yeah.
think most people would send that email like, thank you for your purchase. And I think like it's almost a shame. Well, I'm sure people can hear it in your voice, but like I could hear it in your voice, the way that you would write that copy, right? It's not like the way that you said hello girl is like, or thank you girl is like exactly how you'd want that to come across.
Yep.
And I'm sure that is a great, that is a great feeling after somebody buys from you to feel like, oh yeah, okay, I'm like, I made the right decision. Like this is the woman that I should have bought this product from. Like I feel really good about
And
it. And
that's
so,
the exact response I elicit.
and that's what people want. They want to, even you have an opportunity even after you make a purchase to make someone continue to feel good. about it before that product even comes. And then if you deliver on that and you have a great experience when they actually get your stuff, then it's just like, that's the holy grail.
Exactly.
So do you write, so you wrote that copy, obviously that was in your voice, but like you're on your site, like if I go to any of the product pages on your site, like the copy is great and it all feels like in that same voice that you just talked through. Do you write all this
I
or because
did.
you did?
Well, what I do is usually I'll have, and I've tried this many times. I'll have someone come in and they'll write copy, and it doesn't quite do it. It doesn't quite capture the tone. And so then what I tend to do is either and I'm a quick study, so I'll just study how they wrote it and the cadence and all that, and I'll just Vivianize it, right?
Oh,
And make it work.
interesting. So
Yeah.
that's interesting because I think a lot of people struggle with copywriting because as the brand, if you are the brand and you've been Vivian, it's hard to then like give that away and then have somebody do it in your voice. Like I really struggle with that. Like copywriting is I think superpower in marketing. And so like I've never done well at hiring a copywriter because I always just want to like write it myself.
Mhm.
But what you do is interesting. You actually go the other way. You have them write it and then you do the last 20%. That's way better than my version, which is I'll write the 80% and have them do the 20%. So is that how you'd recommend like scaling copy? Like has that helped you scale and create more copy, or do you just have to put in the work and do it yourself?
I think it depends on your business. Because my business I feel is really personal, then yeah. But if I'm selling water bottles, then I guess it doesn't really matter unless you're really pushing it from I'm selling this water bottle because I got poisoned by whatever. That's so nice. That's not how I got there. But because it's more personal for me and I see my business as an extension of myself, it makes more sense for me to do it that way. So
And okay, so now what is your website on today?
So I quickly outgrew Big Cartel because I realized I couldn't get the reporting, I couldn't get any of that. And then in 2015 I moved over to Shopify when it was just, that little that little spunky e-commerce brand coming out of Canada. And yeah, as soon as I moved it, actually, you know what? It was after I moved it to Shopify that I hit my first million, because I'd taken all the things that I'd learned from my 9-to-5 job. So in my previous life, I was a marketing coordinator. So I learned how to do SEO. I learned how to do, I guess you could say marketing, like digital marketing. They allowed me to get a digital marketing certificate. So I used all the skills from my job and I applied it to this business. So I was doing SEO before, like, especially in my niche, before SEO was really the thing to do. And
And
I
what
quickly saw that Shopify made it very easy for me to do.
So what's the right, like, what is because I think a lot of people don't think about SEO.
Mm.
So where should, like, if someone is in that, if someone is you or before, but didn't have SEO experience, I'm not at $1 million in sales yet. And I got a Shopify store up. Like what should you be thinking about from an SEO perspective and how do you get smart at it?
Well, SEO for one is not a short-term win. Like it's not a short-term thing. You have to do SEO for the long run. So because I've been doing this SEO since, let's say, 2012, now I've grown, and Google sees me as the authority on kinky textured hair, right? So you don't look at SEO as a quick win. You look at it as a long term thing that you do for your website to help you gain that recognition, um that heavy, that thing that Google knows that what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
So and it's so easy to do that people think that you need to hire agencies to do it. Listen, if you know your product like you should, you are able to do it.
And go back to what you said earlier, which is like, if you're your customer, it just becomes like, what is my customer thinking about when they go to Google, right? They're not
Exactly.
typing like kinky, curly, yaki, ponytails. They don't know that yet, but they might be, there might be a more specific search. And so what is that? And how can you bake that into your product listings and product pages?
And your titles and your meta descriptions and your images.
This is great. I'm glad. So Lauren, who does the podcast and all content and Privy, we've been talking a lot about SEO. And this is great because she's going to listen to this when she edits later. And it also is going to serve as like a reinforcing belief now from you on what we've been talking about with SEO, which is like, it sucks to do it in the short term. Like it's not in the short term, you're not going to get anything from it. You're not going to be like, ooh, we got, new traffic from this thing. But like, we're starting to see posts that we created like 3-4 months ago start to bring up organic search in Google. And I'm like, the conversation we just had the other day was, now imagine a year from now, if you have 20 pages that are contributing that traffic that you don't have to spend a time on right now to make, and you're going to pay, it's like, compound interest.
Yeah, the nodding I am doing right now. Like even now, it's like, posts that we put up, years ago. It's like my number one source of traffic is organic. It's all organic.
So what, I want to see how this might play out. So like, what's a search term that that you rank for?
Kinky textured hair extensions.
Hold on one second. All right. Okay, kinky textured hair extensions. Boom. You have the first 2 spots. So your homepage, so not just the product page for that collection for clip-ins, but you also have the homepage, and you have the clip-in hair extensions right there. And that is amazing, because if somebody does search for that, you didn't spend $1 on that. You wrote that post years ago.
Yep.
And so like, how often do you think about, like, are you off, like, is SEO a thing that you have to like, this month I got to do SEO, or is it an ongoing thing that you just always think about?
No, the ongoing thing that you would think about is creating new content, like blog articles or videos or, those sorts of things, Pinterest, whatever it is. But the actual website itself, that's stuff that's gold. That's there.
How does like, do you have a blog for the site?
I do.
And how does that fit into, like, how do you prioritize that content? Because I think a lot of people like they have a hard time because of the long term, right? Like saying like, okay, I'm going to go right. Like how am I going to go spend time and go create blog content for this?
I think you need to not overcomplicate things. Like you can break down like the simplest thing, like say for instance, for hair extensions, like some of our blog articles is what is 4C hair, like things that people Google. That's what you create blog articles about. So don't overthink it. Dumb it down, like explain everything like you're 5. So if you're selling water bottles, okay, well, what's I don't know, what's the difference between a glass bottle and a plastic bottle, right? You just dumb it down. Like don't overthink it. Like trust me, people Google some dumb stuff and you want to be that stuff that they find.
So the Vivian Kaye playbook so far is don't run ads, don't have an email list, be in groups, be good at copywriting, do SEO. Talk to me about like the elements that are actually on your website and how that's evolved over time. Because I got to figure, like, if I plugged your website into like the Wayback Machine and I looked at it 5 years ago, you've added way more social proof, testimonials. Can you talk about how that's evolved a little bit?
Yeah, well, you got to pay attention to technology, right? You got to pay attention to how e-commerce is evolving. So, back in 2015, we weren't posting reviews, but now reviews, having a review app like we use Judge Me is something that is important. It gives that social proof. 5 years ago, I didn't have pop-ups, but I used Privy, and Privy's brought in, I think just over $1 million in sales that I probably would not have had I not had the pop-up, right? So you just have to pay attention to technology and what's working. You also don't want to have 30 million things on your website because it will slow the website down. So you have to be really picky about the types of apps that you have on the website. But the only difference is, maybe, I started with a logo I created in what was it? Microsoft Publisher. Right. And now it's a sexy website that I paid, a good amount of money for a logo. The pictures before were just me on my S3 taking pictures on my dining room table. And now it's like a sexy $20,000, photo shoot thing. But I started somewhere. And that's the thing. You cannot be ashamed of humble beginnings. You just got to start where you are and work with what you have. And trust me, when you get to my level, the journey's even sweeter.
That's amazing. This episode, I've just been scribbling down notes and quotes the whole time. I mean, you already know that you're a bucket full of quotes. I don't even know what the saying is, but
I'll take it. I'm a bucket full of quotes.
Just carrying around a bucket full of quotes. Okay, tell me about you spent 10 grand on a photo shoot and you hated it.
And it was for this current version of the website. Oh my goodness. It's really a story about why you can't hand off your vision to other people. So what happened was the same people who created my beautiful logo and beautiful branding, I said, oh, wow, you did that so well. Can you go ahead and, pull off this photo shoot for me for this new website I'm going to put up, right? And I was very hands off with it. So they did the model call, they did everything, they handled everything, and it looked beautiful. Like, for all intents and purposes, it looked like it was going to be the best photo shoot of my life. I show up on set and I hate it. I hate the models. I hate the music that's playing. I hate everything that's in the photographer. I hate them all because it wasn't a Vivian vibe.
What music were they playing?
It was like some Frank Ocean crap. Like, it was just very mellow and very like, just not me. Like, if this was my photo shoot, I would have been playing like, I don't know, like some Drake or something, but it was just very mellow. And I thought, and all I could think of was, this cost me $10,000. I need to just shut my mouth and just, bite my tongue and just let it go. These guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. I'm just going to let it go. But it was like 2 hours into the shoot and I just couldn't take it anymore. I got up, I changed up the music because I'm like, I'm falling asleep. The models look like they're falling asleep. And I thought I salvaged it. When I got the first pictures back, I was like, oh no, this, I don't like this, but you know what? It's okay. I spent $10,000. I'm going to make it work. It wasn't until I saw the videos and I was like, hell no, nope. This is not what I wanted. This is not, I don't care how much money I spent. This can't go live. I cannot use these pictures. And so I had to start over again and spent another $12,000 to fix that. But that's what you see on the website today. Yeah. And I'm glad I spent that money. You cannot worry about the sunk costs if it's not right for your brand.
That's a good point. Cause I think it probably would have been easy to be like, shit, I just blew 10 grand.
Oh, we can curse? Oh, good.
Yeah, of course. Like I just spent 10 grand. I guess I got to go do something, even though that was bad, that sucked. I got to go do something else, where your mindset was like, no, we still got to make this. We still need to get this because I need this for the site.
Yeah. Cause it didn't look like Kinky Curly Yaki. It did not look like what I had worked all these years. So this was in 2018. So at that time, the business was 6 years old. And I'm like, I did not work this hard to go out like that.
Right. I didn't work this hard to show up at my photo shoot, but not have Drake playing. Like, right. This is not what I came to do.
No.
And it's interesting because like, that is the product. Like, your photos of the business of the product. That's like the most important thing that you could be spending time on. I remember reading like Steve Jobs marketing stuff because he's the most like obsessed, maniacal marketing person ever. He still sweat every headline, every font, every color, and so there's this balance of like, I think a lot of founders want to get out of the weeds and scale in the marketing stuff, but oftentimes like delegate the wrong stuff.
Yep.
Especially if this is your brand, like this is your baby, who's going to know the look and feel of this thing better? Like, sure, maybe have someone run your ads for you, but not run, do your photos.
Yeah, but even those they screw up. Right? Like, even
so like, how do you do it then? Like, how do you help somebody scale, right? Because I think in that mindset, you're just going to end up doing everything forever and you're always going to be just buried in it.
You have to communicate what your brand's mission, values, and your mission, values, and I don't even forget what the other fancy word is, but you just have to communicate that, and you have to communicate it really well, and you have to make sure that whoever you're bringing on board understands that. Like, anytime I hire anyone to do ads or to do social media management, I say, you know what? Can you show me examples of what you think my brand is supposed to look like, so I can see if they actually understand what I'm trying to pull off here.
Right, because they might be good at running ads, but they might not be good at running your ads.
Exactly. Like, I've had people who tried to run ads and they were showing pictures of, like, there was like a stock photo of, some girl with, like, it just didn't make sense. Like it made abs, and then she had terrible hair in the picture. Like, there's a lot of, that's the thing about sometimes with these stock photos of black people in it. It's like, you guys do not know black people. You don't. It's funny.
Well,
But anyways, that's another episode.
Anytime anybody says stock photo, the only thing I picture of is like this like older white guy in a business suit with an outstretched hand shaking across the table, like in a meeting. That's immediately when anybody says stock photo. That's what I think of.
Right. So then they were inserting these terrible photos of black people, of black women doing god awful things, like things that don't make sense, like smiling at milk and thinking that that's the perfect ad to run. It's like, did you not look at my Instagram and see all the UGC that we have in there that you could have possibly used for this?
Right. I mean, yeah, you're the content that you get is like a marketer's dream. You have your actual customers producing reviews and content for you all day.
Use that. But no, you want to use the one really terrible picture of a girl who's rocking not even a kinky curly yaki look. So she's doing that whole African in the front and Indian in the back, which is what my company's not trying to do. But this is the one stock photo that you did. I could go on and on about this.
I want to spit that lesson back because I think it's really good and I haven't heard anybody say it. And so I just want to like repeat it, which is your advice is basically like, if you're going to work with a vendor, their test, their homework to win your business first is going to be like, show me how this would look for my brand. Not an example of another client, but like actually what would the creative look like for me? And then if you do that, then we can talk about working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because for me, it's very important for me that my customers know that I understand them. And that they get what I'm trying to do, and everything I do resonates with them, from all the way from tone all the way down to to packaging. So I need to make sure that you know what you're doing, because what you've done for one business doesn't mean it'll work on my business.
Yeah, I love it. This is a good I don't care if this makes it in. This is a good episode. Okay, I want to wrap up, and we're going to wrap up by shifting directions and just talking about. If you could break down the best campaign that you've ever ran.
Yes. It was a campaign I literally made up 2 days before. Like I literally woke up in the morning. I was like, this is what we're going to do. I think it's a great idea. And it was for my 40th birthday. So I decided to send an email out to every single person who's ever looked at Kinky Curly Yaki, saying that I was going to have a flash sale. So 40% off for my 40th birthday. I gave them 6 hours notice, and I gave them 30 minutes to do it. I think it was 30 minutes or 60 minutes, basically 60 minutes. So I gave them an hour to shop 40% off. In that hour, I think we did like $44,000. And that was with 6 hours notice.
Whoa, I'm not a big math guy, but if you did that by the time of how many hours are in a day, that'd be pretty good.
Exactly. But it was like and it was something that I just wanted to see what would happen. Like, what would happen? So
do you remember the email that you sent out? If you could talk through it?
Yeah, it was just an email. I was like, hey girl, it's always, hey girl, hey girl, I'm turning 40. I am celebrating, I'm doing the big things. I'm celebrating life. And I want to celebrate it with you. And thank you for rocking with me for these past couple of years. So here's what we're doing. It's 40% off for 1 hour only. I don't care I don't care what time zone it is. And I remember listing all the time zones you could possibly be in, because we serve Black women all the way around the world. So we had emails, we had pop-ups. I changed the website because I was on Shopify Plus at the time. So I had a different theme that just was like, boom. This is where you don't ask me questions. You want 40% off? Buy it. And here it is. So that's what the email did. And it was just me in a crown. It was just really just celebrating life and taking you with me. And they loved it. And it was just something I just woke up and decided to do. It wasn't a strategic plan. It wasn't something I had in my marketing plan for the last 6 months. I knew my birthday was coming up. It comes up the same day every year. Right? But it was just something I just decided to try. And that's the beauty of being a small business, is that you're nimble enough to just try anything.
Like if that didn't work, the worst thing that you would have gotten is a bunch of people that were like, happy birthday, girl. Like people just would have written back to you.
Right.
Wait,
right.
Did you say you did 44,000 in sales?
I believe so.
That's pretty wild then. Your 40th birthday, you did 40% off and you generated just over 40K in sales.
In an hour.
In 1 hour.
In
Do you
1
think
hour.
the hour, how much of an impact do you think the hour had on the success of the offer?
Because it created that sense of urgency, right? So they had to get on it. Otherwise they weren't. And you know what? My birthday is a couple of days after Black Friday. So I managed to pull this off after Black Friday too. People who bought on Black Friday bought again on my birthday. So you never have, like, you should never worry, oh, people don't have money. People have money. They just really picky about how they're spending it, right?
Well,
And
and what you just showed is like the power of marketing. Like that's a great offer. There's a great hook. It's not just like you can just email your list and say like, hey, I got 40% off for you today. Like the hook is like, it's my birthday. I'm giving you 40% off because my birthday. And by the way, it's only 1 hour because I don't want to spend all day chasing down these responses. I want to go hang out and like have a drink and just do whatever today. And so you have 1 hour to buy, and no sweat if you don't.
right, exactly. I was no sweat. And I was honestly, I remember just sitting there like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And I had the Shopify dashboard on, I had my phone, the app, and it was just cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. I was like, oh shit.
That's
Worked.
you needed some other, yeah. Then you need to close this with like what you ended up doing for your birthday. You need some 40. I don't know. There needs to be like a restaurant around 40 that you could match this. So then you went out and celebrated at 40. Oh, Jay-Z has 40/40 club, but I don't know if they have that in Toronto. So
Yeah, no, they don't. I think I just went home to my son and we had cake.
that's good. That's the best. That's the best place to be. And this is an awesome place to end this. Vivian, this is cool because my favorite thing about doing these is I selfishly just get to learn a lot, and you over delivered in this interview. And so want to just give a quick shout out where people can go find you online and go check out your stuff.
Yeah, you can find me at Kinky Curlyaki. That's the brand. So it's KINKYCURLYYAKI. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at It's Vivian Kaye, ITSVIVIANKAYE. I am an absolute delight to follow. If you like this energy on a podcast, just imagine me on Instagram. I'm lit. So
We gotta clip this and send you a clip, and this can be like an ad that you can use to run for your own social stuff. I love it.
Let's do it. Trust me, I'm dropping a new Vivian Kaye website, so there's going to be all the Vivian Kaye things. And guess who I'm using as my pop-up? Okay, Privy.
Privy.com. That's
Privy.com.
great. Vivian, you're awesome. It was great to have you on, and hopefully we can have you back on one day. I hope you have a great weekend, whatever you're doing. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.